Italy is reopening its borders, both air and land. Our correspondent Giorgia Orlandi is in Rome to tell us more. Georgia, Italy was one of the epicentres of the virus in Europe, but yet now it's one of the first to be able to reopen its borders, lift restrictions for foreign travellers. What's behind this turnaround and how's it being received?
Good morning, Rosie. Well, this is Rome's main train station, and from today onwards, Italians will be allowed to leave from here to reach any destinations outside the region and to move freely across the country without having to carry that self-declaration form with them at all times. This is one of the most important steps to allow Italians to go back to their lives as they looked like before the lockdown, although authorities can still limit travel if infections spike. In fact, a few local governors, especially in the south of Italy, where there are lots of tourist destinations, have requested that all people entering their regions have to register on the region's website, and they have to keep track of all the places they visit and the people they've come in contact with. But given the fact that there will be increased train services, there will be more flights operating across the country, carrying more passengers, things have to work differently, Rosie. There will be scanners placed in most train stations, airport terminals. Italians will be obliged to have their temperatures taken. Now, visitors from within the Schengen zone can enter the country with no obligation to self-isolate. Italians also from today onwards will be able to travel abroad. And given the fact that hotels are gradually reopened, this means that the tourism sector will slowly pick up again. But it's going to happen gradually. As we know, this is going to be a different type of tourism, an internal one, a domestic one. But the impact of the outbreak on the country's economy is still very tangible. And with less tourists, the road to recovery is still very long. Take a listen.
This is what the city of Florence, one of the most famous art cities in the world, looks like these days. Eerily empty and quiet, when in normal times thousands of tourists would be flocking from one monument to another. Craft shops represent not only a key part of the city's economy, but also its cultural heritage. Nearly 3 months of lockdown have hit this business hard, like the rest of the Italian economy. Artisans were already suffering even before the coronavirus pandemic. Around 180,000 artisan companies closed in the past decade, and thousands more are now on the brink of collapse. Old crafts are at risk of extinction, like this framer, whose shop is in the city centre.
Some shops will deliberately not reopen because there are no tourists. These businesses must pay thousands of euros for rent or mortgages. They have employees. Since there is no tourism, they would rather stay closed and delay the opening in the future.
Artisan shops in Florence are historic businesses passed down from generation to generation. They carry the memory of this city and its cultural heritage.
People come here to socialize. Food and wine are excuses for them to communicate. Unfortunately, in these extraordinary times, the actual mission of this business, socialization, is missing.
Ponte Vecchio is a small but historic district of goldsmiths and jewelers. They have decided to remain closed because they feel abandoned by the central government.
The old bridge, or Ponte Vecchio, is in the heart of Florence, the cradle of Italian Renaissance in the 15th century. Here, artisan shops and historic businesses are still closed, reflecting the continuing partial shutdown of the country's cultural legacy.
A feeling of worry and uncertainty is pervading the city's empty streets. Artisans are waiting for better days. They hope the beauty of Florence will prevail. Luca Palamara for Euronews, Florence.